Let's take a look at what's going on in Europe at the moment. The demographics are going down. If you look at the US, there are a lot of challenges as well. The growth were fueled by immigration, which is actually going down now. You don't have what India has. Narendra Modi has been doing a fantastic job leading India into this new stage here. We don't sell the awards.
Hi, Gustavo. Happy to have you on ReTalk Podcast. I would be very happy if you could give a short intro about yourself to our audience.
Right, of course. TM, thank you very much for having me here. It's a pleasure. I know what you've been trying to do by talking about real estate in a broader way, trying to think out of the box, and I think that's a very important role that you are trying to do for the greater good of the industry. So thank you very much for the opportunity. Well, I am Gustavo. I am 44 years old. I am the CEO and managing partner at the GRI Institute, married to Anastasia, Ukrainian, with Max, 13 years old, and Sasha, 6 years old, my kids. And I'm always delighted to be here in India. The last 2 years, this is my 10th trip to India.
Superb. So, how do you feel? How is India treating you?
Very well. I was just mentioning to you, I enjoy the food. The people, they're very lovely. They're super nice. And I believe that India is like I feel like I'm a different planet.
Okay.
We have a lot of members from Europe, from the US, from South America, from many countries. And when I come to India, it feels like the real estate industry here is like in a different planet, different mood all the time.
Very nice. One favorite city in India?
You know what? I like Mumbai and Delhi. I'm always there, but this time is the first time I'm in Bangalore, and even though the traffic it is a little bit more challenging, I love the weather, and it feels like even though it's a large city, it feels very, very good to be here.
Very nice. So let's get started. Little bit about the mindset. How has your time at London School of Economics helped you build your entrepreneurial journey?
It's a very good question, because if you look at my background, I studied law first, and then I did social science and my master's in foreign affairs, and then a few years back only I studied something related with real estate, and I have been in real estate for almost 2 decades.
Okay.
The truth is, I think the most important part of my education is the fact that I didn't study real estate much, which allows me to actually have a view of real estate from a social point of view, from anthropology, sociology, and trying to think about the global elements of the world applying to real estate. So even though the business school for real estate was very important, I would say that my views are sometimes a little bit different because of the other kind of study that I had in my life.
Great. What habits or daily practices help you find some innovation?
I believe being always ready to pay attention to other sectors and how the other sectors deliver their value. For example, if you look at how an airplane is set up, sometimes I go to the toilet in the plane and I try to understand how in the small space they manage to allocate so many things. So when you think about micro living, for example, how can you think about your industry, real estate, thinking about other industries and how they go about the space, the value proposition, and so on. So to be honest, it's trying to always be connected to the present moment, no matter where you are, trying to think of how that industry, maybe it's a pharmaceutical, maybe it's a car industry, but how can you find lessons in other industries that you can bring to real estate?
Okay. What inspired you to challenge traditional real estate through GRI Institute?
I think the fact that there is a need for us to innovate in real estate. I see that the real estate industry is very traditional, and there are reasons for that, right? But I like to think that real estate is less and less about bricks and more about experiences, about society, about the way the cities are shaped. I think there's a big responsibility in the real estate leadership to think about how the way people live, work, and go about their lives on a day-to-day basis. And that is what inspires me when it comes to innovation.
Okay. Recently, I read somewhere, GRI Club has merged with GRI Institute. Can you give us more details on this?
Of course. GRI was founded back in 1998, so we are almost 30 years old. I have been with the GRI since 2010. I'm the CEO and managing partner. And throughout the time, we were initially a global club of leaders that would come together to network and do business. And we were very blessed with almost 19,000 members globally. We were very blessed to have these guys on an ongoing basis meeting together inside of a behind closed doors to discuss business opportunities. But with time, what we realize is that we achieved such a size and such a powerful brain house that we could do much more with that. So for the last 2 years, we have been preparing for this change to become the GRI Institute. The GRI Institute means that we, of course, will still do business together, have the leadership together, but we are now way beyond that. Just last year, to give an idea, we have done over 100 reports in terms of intel, and by being such a global powerhouse, we are able to cross information and understand what's going on in Europe, in South America, in Mexico, how Mexico can bring some insights for the Indian market, how India can be useful for Brazil, for example. So by bringing all these markets together, we are now much more a think tank than anything else in the real estate industry. So the real estate industry now has the GRI Institute with three central pillars. The first pillar is the think tank. The second pillar is education. So you see the GRI taking a much more proactive role in forging the leaders of the future with the help of the current leaders. And the third aspect is research. We have the opportunity to have unique data coming straight from the guys that not only follow the trends, but create the trends.
Create the trends.
So you see this happening more and more on a global level.
Great. So what is it for India? If you can give some insights on that. I mean, what is the plan GRI Institute has for India? Say maybe next 1 decade.
Yes. Well, TM, this is a very important question, and the fact that the global CEO, in my case, I have been coming more here than to any other market for the last 2 years. If you look at Mexico, Brazil, they're big markets for us. Of course, Europe is 50% of our members are in Europe. We have offices in Abu Dhabi, which is a very exciting region. The GCC region is very important for us. But I would say, and I'm not saying that to be nice to you or to our audience, but India is the main market for the GRI Institute for the future. And the reason is the numbers speaks by itself. And when you speak to our members on a global level, they certainly see India as the place to be for the next decade. For demographic reasons, for urbanization reasons. We can talk more about that, but there's a lot of things happening here. And don't take my word for it. 2 years ago, we had 2 people working for the GRI here in India. Now we have 19 at the moment, and the team is only growing. So we believe we need to be here as a gate for the global investors to talk to the market. Not only that, to bring intel and as a think tank to help the market to become more mature so we can have the full potential achieved here in India.
Great. How do you see the role of real estate in shaping the cities of future?
Sometimes we forget how the real estate is important for society. We shape the way people live. For example, if you go out, beyond the resi market, if you think about the office space a few years back, people would go to work to work. The truth is, nowadays, you don't necessarily go to work to work. You could do the same work many times from anywhere in the world. You go to work to create culture, to interact, to become more creative, to collaborate. And the responsibility of the real estate player is to create such an environment to enable people to actually exchange ideas. So the way you design the office space, the way you actually help companies through challenges are very important. So the real estate leaders now, they are responsible for so many things. And that's why I think that this kind of podcast and this kind of conversation can be so useful for us to understand the real responsibility of the industry.
Correct. How do you think Indian urban growth and young demographic can shape the future of real estate?
Look, while let's take a look at what's going on in Europe at the moment. The demographics are going down. The population is aging, not growing. If you look at the US, there are a lot of challenges as well. The growth were fueled by immigration, which is actually going down now with Trump. If you look at these two main markets, which are very mature markets, you don't have what India has. The demography is a very strong element in real estate, and India is still growing. There's another thing as well, another phenomenon, which is urbanization. A lot of people migrating from the rural areas to the cities, or tier 2 to tier 1, tier 3 cities to tier 2. So there's so much demand and so much happening in the Indian real estate market that that's definitely something can be missed. Plus, I know that in any country I go, you can complain about the govern and the authorities, but there is one thing that the international community believes is that Narendra Modi has been doing a fantastic job by
Yes.
by leading India into this new stage here. You know, before a lot of people would talk about deploying capital in China, Russia, Brazil. Nowadays, they talk about India.
Yes.
I don't see members from the GRI talking about Brazil or Russia or China. What's left? Maybe Mexico, but you cannot scale as much as you can scale here. We're talking about a population here that's 7 times bigger than Mexico. So for a global investor that would like to deploy capital in a country that it has a lot of potential to grow and scale, India is the place to be.
Okay. What are your expectations from India in terms of opportunities and challenges?
I believe the challenge is in India. And look, I come to India sometimes and I say, yeah, India is nice, but there's so many challenges, difficult to understand. Any country that's growing as fast as India will bring challenges to the table. It's part of
The growth story.
exactly. It's part of thing. We need to actually understand that that will take time. But if you don't accept that and don't decide to take the risk, you're gonna miss the opportunity here.
Yes.
So I see a lot of opportunities here in terms of investments, not only in the resi market, but you have data centers, you have industrial and logistics, hospitality is doing very well. So there's not one single asset class that's not performing here. How come a global investor will not deploy capital here? So I see this as a natural option for many investors.
So, can you share any plan or ambition what you have for India?
Sure thing. I believe that we are gonna have a club, an institute, a think tank that's at least 4 times bigger than what we have now, with the main objective to remain very senior, right? And with the participation of those that actually put capital at risk. There are many institutions that bring a huge number of people together, but they don't keep the quality the way we believe is very important. So what I tell my team here is that quality is very, very, very important. Second, I believe that there is a big room for us here to contribute to the market with the education part of the process. And I'm not talking about the current members of the GRI who are the number one and number two in their organizations. I'm talking about those guys who aspire to be part of the GRI Institute. So in 2026, I can tell you in first hand that we're going to bring the education part of the business, the knowledge part of the business here. And the main difference is that we don't want to create something that's very boring and old-fashioned and inside of libraries. No, the new way for us to bring the knowledge part here is that knowledge should be extremely practical. First of all, what we're going to teach, things that are chosen by the members as the most important things that the members, the leaders of the future need to know. So that's the first thing. The topics will be designed by the members of the GRI. For example, we need to talk about fundraising. Okay, what kind of topics we need to talk inside of fundraising? We need to talk about this, and this. Okay, now who is gonna be the guy teaching fundraising?
Fundraising.
With all due respect for the greatest universities in the world, we want those guys from the front line, the guys who are actually doing very well fundraising, for example, as professors in the GRI Institute. So the members of the GRI will be also the professors, will be mentoring programs as well. And what we're going to have as well is the way we deliver this information, not just by having traditional classes, but by having things that are very practical, concentrated in a weekend or 2-3 days immersion program, so they can leave and next day apply that to the day-to-day job. So that's the vision for us for the next few years here in India.
I see, as you rightly mentioned, 2026, we're going to see a huge change in terms of education getting into Indian markets. I think that's a very good sign. And I'm sure the audience would like to connect and take things forward from there. You mentioned, workplaces are something the future, you just explained about them. So with hybrid and remote workspaces being the trend set now, what do you think how the organization should rethink or create these spaces?
I believe that when COVID started, I remember having conversations with many GRI members, and a good number would say, you know what, office is dead. People are not going to go back to their office and so on. And I remember being a bit more skeptical at that time because I still believe that we are social animals. We need to be together. Innovation doesn't come from your mind or my mind, but comes from a group of people. So what I see nowadays, not just in India but elsewhere, is that hybrid, but with a heavy element of in-person, is gonna happen more and more. If you see even markets like the UK or in New York, I remember New York. I go to New York every year for the last 15 years. I remember landing there in May 2022, and I arrived in the morning on a Monday, and I was walking in Manhattan. It was like 9 a.m. and it was completely empty, the streets. This year I went there in May, and I remember the same thing. Was already very busy with people going to the office. So I believe that what we have now is a more balanced way where companies are realizing that they need to have people back in the office, but they understand that sometimes some level of flexibility could be acceptable depending on the role of that person. And I think that in India is even more important to be in the office. I mean, not because of the work itself, but there's a culture here in India, from what I have been seeing the last 2 years, that people really want to be back in the office in
Yes.
many cases. Despite of the traffic, despite of the challenges, I see in India more than when I compare to, for example, Germany or the UK or the US.
Like you rightly mentioned, there is a hesitation, or people are not that inclined towards going back to office. What advice would you give to the organizations to create a better work culture, or a new setup kind of a thing which will prompt people to go back to their work? What advice would that be?
Well, what we do at the GRI Institute is that we try to figure out why do this person wants to work from home? Well, she wants to have something nice to eat, or she wants to feel comfortable there. She wants to feel that she or he is in a warm environment. So I would say that we should transform our offices not in homes, but in a warmer environment, less cold like it was in the past. So if you go, for example, to our offices in many places, there will be fruit there, food, there will be a lot of areas for people to network, to talk to each other. So I think the office of the future is the place where you incentivize the employees to bounce together, to bounce back ideas, to spend time together, and not just simply boxes where you sit down, look at one screen, and work all day long.
Okay. Uh, just for our audience, where is the India headquartered city? I mean, where is GRI Institute in India?
We have our largest office is in Mumbai. We have about 10 people sitting in Mumbai.
Okay.
but we also have an office in Delhi and one office here in Bangalore.
Very nice. That's great. And we keep seeing a lot of GRI award functions which are happening around the clock. Any particular reason? Or is that to create an impact or to make the industry aware that GRI Institute is here? What is it all about?
You're talking about the GRI Awards?
Yes.
The GRI Awards is a way that we find for us to incentivize the market to deliver better products, better projects. There's one thing very important: we don't sell the awards.
Correct.
We're very serious about that. We have and there's a group of members of the GRI that can vote for what's the project that they believe that's very exciting. People with decades of experience and working in companies from all over the world. So when we do the GRI Awards, is our way to incentivize and to actually recognize those that are on the forefront of the industry when it comes to projects that can impact positively the cities of India and all over the world.
Superb. Very nice. So let's get on a quick fireside kind of a chat. Biggest myth in real estate, as per you?
The biggest myth in real estate, there are so many points that I have question marks, but if I had to nominate one, I would say that for those that still believe that real estate is about how many square meters or bricks or the engineering part of real estate, I invite them to look from the customer experience. I believe this is the big myth.
Okay. One city that excites you on terms of innovation?
I'm excited about Bangalore. I'm
nice.
Impressed the way you guys are doing things here.
One sentence, formula for success.
Always be ready to learn. Keep yourself very hungry and curious about what else can you learn, what else can you do differently.
Great, Gustavo. I mean, I think we have come to a conclusion. It was a very nice discussion what I had with you. I'm sure the audience are going to love. How can our listeners follow your work or understand more about what GRI Institute is doing?
Perfect. Well, thank you very much, Tim. Again, I try to be straight to the point because I know time is very important for you and for our spectators. People can follow the GRI. There's a website, www.griinstitute.org. On YouTube as well, we have a channel with a lot of information there, GRI Institute as well. And I have an Instagram, it's at Gustavo Favaron. And I'm happy to interact with anyone who would like to talk to me.
Super. Thank you very much once again. It was very nice having you on ReTalk Podcast.
Thank you very much, Ian. Pleasure is all mine.